Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
3, 2, 1, and we are back, and we're going to be discussing with you the 8 expired secrets to dominate your market. Now, by expireds, we of course mean expired listings. Now, why are we focused so intensely on expired listings this time of year? Because they're so plentiful. If you don't believe me, as you're starting to listen to this podcast, I have a little challenge for you. If it is possible, would you please log into your local MLS, and I want you to do a system-wide search for all the expired listings in your marketplace. And make sure you search the entire MLS, not just a particularly small geographic MLS code area, the entire MLS. And I want you to count how many expireds there's been in the last 12 months. If you can't do last 12 months, just do the last 6 months. Then do last 90 days. Then do last 30 days. And what you're going to realize is even in a market where it's a hot seller's market, which there are still those markets out there, there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of expired listings. Now, what is an expired listing? Let's just really, drill down. It is a yet to be sold house. That's it. The seller has had it for sale with another broker. The other broker agent failed to sell it. It probably had a price condition or location issue. And frankly, it's going to be something that once you have a little bit of skill and you'll have a little bit of aptitude and focus, you can become an absolute multimillionaire listing agent focusing purely on expireds. I say that with confidence because we've had thousands of coaching clients over the last 20 years that have made expireds their real focused in lead generation, main spoke on their lead generation wheel. Because again, there are always going to be expireds. We know the sellers, for the most part, once you use our scripts, you call them up, you're going to discover what their motivation is. And once you know what their motivation is and you follow our system, you're going to be able to essentially have a plentiful list, a ever abundant list of opportunities in your marketplace. So I want you to keep that in mind. If you're right now thinking about what am I going to do for lead generation, do I have to work my brand, my marketing, all these other things? We strongly encourage you to be focusing on expired listings.
Exactly. So today we're going to share 8 expired secrets so that you too can dominate your market, whether you're new, newer, a little bit experienced, or even a grizzled veteran. All of you can do this. Remember that your #1 job, as Tim just said, your #1 job in real estate is to generate new business. Without a steady stream of new listings, nothing else matters. You could have the most polished listing presentation, excel at pre-qualifying prospects, and even be a skilled negotiator and closer. But without leads, none of that actually matters. So working with expired listings can be the game changer. When you master it, this lead source can and should end any feast and famine cycle that you are experiencing, or some of you just experience it sometimes. But this will end that problem forever. Listings generate more than just commissions. They attract buyers too. That's why seasoned agents will always say, you have to list to last.
She meant more than just listing commissions, obviously. And Julie and I have done research on this before that's shown that up to 7 transactions happen from one listing. Mm-hmm. And so, that one listing can equal in many markets over $100,000 in revenue. So just keep that in mind. One expired listing for many of you, let alone 5 expired listings, can set yourselves up to have an unbelievably powerful next 12 months.
That's absolutely true. So how prevalent are expired listings? I did a little bit of research. In countrywide, the average is between 15 and 25% of property listings, of active listings, will actually expire. Now, there are some markets where it's as much as 50%. For part of our sales career, that was about the average. 50% wouldn't sell at least the first time around. So that leads to being an expired listing. That does not mean the seller is giving up hope of selling. Some of them do, but most of them don't. It just means that it didn't sell the first time, sometimes even the second time. So look at the relist rates. Nearly 40% of expired listings are relisted with a new agent within 30 days of expiration. And some of that percentage will relist within the first 2 or 3 days.
Let's add some more information on that. Something like, again, 90 or 95% of all expireds relisted and are sold within 180 days. No, maybe it was 12 months. I don't remember.
I think it was in a year, but about 40% are relisted within 30 days.
Right. So here's the moral of the story. And every expired listing, in essence, is going to get relisted and it's going to get sold. So the question is who's your biggest competitor? In most cases, your biggest competitor is the prior listing agent because that seller doesn't happen to know any other real estate agents. So if you think about this, when you're calling expired listings, your biggest competitor has already failed. So the agent that they know, love, and trust from, just their own center of influence and list, maybe they know them from church or whatever, that agent failed to sell the house. And once you can get past that, that usual objection, because they're going to say things like, well, I'm just going to list it with the same agent. Well, that's interesting, Mr. Seller. What do you think that agent's going to do differently this time? They hadn't already tried the first time they had the house for sale. And all you got to do is learn to say little things like that and cast a little bit of doubt in the seller's mind, and then you can simply say, Mr. Seller, I'm sure you'll agree it makes sense that at this point you have at least another opinion of what you can do to get the property sold, so you're not in the same situation and have another expired listing, say 6 months from now. So I'm going to be in the neighborhood today at 4 o'clock, or would 5 o'clock be better? I'll pop by, show you exactly what I can do to get the property sold, so you're not in this position again in 6 months from now. And if you decide to continue to list with your old agent, that's fine as well. Now you'll have some additional input, and maybe you can pass that information along to your existing, your old agent. That type of thing. And we teach you guys all this in Premier Coaching. And once you start doing this type of work, once you start calling expireds, the thing that's going to be the biggest revelation to all of you are leads are plentiful. Some of you are actually believing that leads are the hardest thing to do in real estate, and that's absolutely not true. There are leads everywhere constantly. It's just there's leads that require some skill and some effort to go after. And what many agents do is they fall prey to the marketing and the branding and the lead buying, not realizing that the best leads are already the ones they're the ones that already have their hands in their air, saying, yes, I want to sell my house. My first agent failed to sell the property. Now I'd like to get the property sold. Maybe even, by the way, by the time you list it for the second time, they're a hell of a lot more motivated than they were the first time. So you need to be optimistic and excited about this. Now, many of you are going to be ready to go to the next level and learn more about becoming a real powerful expired listing agent. And a lot of our Harris certified coaches, they essentially have built their businesses around expireds. And when you join Premier Coaching, by going to premiercoaching.com or texting the word Premier to 47372, you can have immediate access to all of our first level Premier Coaching. In addition to that, you're going to be able to attend a daily semi-private coaching call with one of our Harris certified coaches. And I know, for example, Ziggy's worked a lot with for sale by owners. That was her niche. Mm-hmm. But I know Brandon definitely has gone after expireds.
That's right.
So this is something that all of you need to seriously be considering, if not just frankly moving forward and doing. And the best part is you can join Premier Coaching right now for free for the first 30 days. So just go to premiercoaching.com or text the word Premier to 47372 if it's more convenient, and we'll text you back a link to Premier Coaching. But the easy button is to go to premiercoaching.com and join right now. And the link is also to join is in the show description down below. And if you you could just scroll down if you're on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and just click the link to join Premier Coaching.
All right, so why should you care so much about expireds? Well, let's do some quick math here. Listing and selling just one expired home per month can generate over $115,000 annually, assuming a $400,000 average sale price and a 20% split to your broker. We have to make some math assumptions here. So you take that $400,000 times, let's just say 3%, 12,000 gross commission. You pay your broker, you end up around $9,600. $9,600 times 12 months is $115,200 annually. In other words, not learning this is going to cost you at least $100,000 a year.
And that's assuming you only sell the expired listing. That's assuming you don't have that seller doesn't have a house that they want to buy. That's assuming you don't list the neighbor's house.
And that you only do one a month.
Right, and that's assuming that you don't sell it yourself. May have already said that. All these things. And we know statistically that 7 homes are sold off every one listing. So Julie's math should be bare bones. And if maybe your goal is to earn $200,000 next year, but your average commission is $15,000, do the math and adjust accordingly. Just by focusing on expired listings, you can have, it's interesting, every time you and I present information like this, it's so simple and obvious.
Yep.
And I often wonder why agents, I'll never understand why humans, but agents in general, want to make things so complicated. They don't want to believe that effort can equal results. They want to believe that they have to pass through the fiery, Modor, whatever, from Tolkien,
Yeah.
They don't want to accept the fact that they can actually control their results. And I think it's a little bit of a business maturity that might be part of it.
It's a little procrastination too.
Yeah, it's easier to say, well, I'm going to build a funnel, or I'm going to work on this, I'm going to work on that, opposed to actually doing the real work of real estate and actually getting ahead of the opportunities that are expired listings. And Julie and I are watching a mosquito fly around my arm.
He's circling us.
So if you guys hear
We'll get him.
If you hear a smacking noise, that's not Julie smacking me.
No.
Well, it might be.
It could be if he lands on you.
Exactly.
So
All right.
anyway, back to expireds. Our expired secret number one is there are more expired listings than you think. Most of you miss opportunities because you don't monitor the expired listings consistently enough. Do you actually know how to find expired listings? Every now and then I have coaching clients that say, gosh, I've never really done an expired search. How do you even do that? You can use your daily hot sheet via your MLS or a system like RedX to find the information for you. But the point is there are a lot more than you think. As Tim said earlier in the podcast, use your MLS and do a broad search. Start big first.
Well, just to sell yourself on the acceptance that there's a lot of expireds. But as far as RedX goes, text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372. Text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372. And we'll text you back a link. Then you click on that link and you can join RedX and get a $150 discount. So, and what is RedX? They will go into your MLS and they'll do a search for you every single day and look for all the new expireds. They will even include usually a lot of phone numbers, because everyone has multiple phone numbers nowadays, and all the property information. So that means when you sit down to your computer in the morning, all you've got to do is open your computer, look at your computer screen, and RedX will have already done all the homework, already pulled out all the potential expired listings for you. You then pull out our expired prospecting script, and you start making the calls. Right there, very simple. See what I mean about simple system?
That's the solution,
And
right?
you know when you're calling and you're using our scripts, you're going to pull out of the motivation. You're going to pull out, Mr. Seller, had this property sold. Where are you going to go next? Where we're moving to Florida. Well, Florida, that's exciting. Ideally, how soon did you want to be there? Well, we should have been there already. Or we want to be there in the next 6 months. You guys get it?
Or better yet, we've already bought a house there. We need to sell this one.
Exactly. Those are the best ones.
All right, so point number two, if you can't find a phone number and RedX for some reason can't pull it up, well, guess what? Neither can anybody else. Many agents stop at online searches when they can't find the owner's contact information, but this is an opportunity, not an obstacle. So your action step here is to be the agent who goes the extra mile. Knock on their door. Offer not just to relist the property, but to get it sold this time. Always have 3 pre-listing packages in your car ready to deliver to your expireds. And 10x your efforts by committing to door knocking at least 2 expireds every single day. Remember, point number 1, removed your excuse. You can't find them. RedX is going to help you find them. You can automate it. It's going to pop up first thing you look at. There's no reason that 100% of you listening couldn't door knock 2 expireds every day.
And remember, just text the word RED, R-E-D, to 47372, and we'll text you back that link. Point number 3, Julie, expired sellers are ready to make changes. And that's, well, should we tell them the big secret about being a successful listing agent? This might be a good point.
You think they're ready for it?
They're okay. So this is the big secret. We normally only tell you this after you've been in our coaching program for decades and you signed a whole bunch of non-disclosures.
That's right.
And you've taken a whole bunch of pledges and all the other things. The secret to being a successful listing agent comes down to this one you'd think obvious fact or obvious truth, but many people don't realize it. But the secret to being a successful listing agent is having the listing when it sells. It's kind of a joke, but it's not. Because in a market like what many of you have entered into, the listings aren't going to, like the first listing agent that the seller is going to list with is going to be someone, again, a friend, a family member, maybe their prior agent, maybe the agent that sold them a house, whatever, that type of thing. And if that agent fails at selling the property, because maybe at the time the condition isn't right, the pricing isn't right, something's going on. Seller's not that motivated. Then it expires. Then you actually set an appointment, you pre-qualify them, you take the listing. Now what you're going to walk into is a seller that's already been market tested. They know what the feedback's been, assuming there's been showings. They know what the price probably is or it shouldn't be, or in many cases expired sellers are actually not going to have a price issue. They're going to have essentially an issue with maybe the condition, which goes to condition. So we're going to know by the time you go around and taking an expired listing, we know what the problems are. And we also have a much more amiable seller.
Much more cooperative.
Right.
Yes.
The seller's going to be a lot, maybe they're going to be a little bit road weary. They're going to feel like they've been rejected or their house has, because you know what it has. So they're going to be receptive to painting the walls. They're going to be receptive to cleaning up the yard. They're going to be receptive to being a little bit more, agreeable to showings at times before that they thought were inconvenient to them, those types of things.
They'll do more for the new agent than they did for the last agent, because they've been through the gamut a little bit. You know, when you first take the listing and you walk through the house and you knew that it shouldn't have shag carpet at that price, but the seller just, you know, they remember when they put that in and they just loved it. Well, guess what? After 6 or 10 showings saying, love the house, hate the carpet, at least for the price, etc., may or may not be the price as well, they're going to be a lot more willing to do something for that next agent. When you start listing expireds, you're going to hear that time and again. They're going to say, just tell me what to do.
And actually, Julie, the fact is that the first agent that they listed with probably was somebody that they had a personal relationship with.
That's
and when
right.
that agent fails, they probably don't have a plan B, another agent that they're thinking about listing with. The very fact that you don't have an existing personal relationship with them will make them so that they are going to be more likely to list with you, because they don't want another pseudo-personal relationship with their listing agent. They want to list with somebody who's professional that's going to get the job done. And that creates, frankly, a lot of opportunity for you to be direct with them and use our scripts and reposition the house in the market so that it more correctly reflects the buyer's expectations.
That's right. So after the frustration of not being sold, they'll fix things like remedying the negative feedback, adjusting the price in some cases, loosen the showing restrictions, improve the pictures and the description. So your job is to highlight what you'll do differently to succeed where the previous agent failed. Again, things that we teach consistently in Premier Coaching.
Text the word Premier to 47372 or simply go to premiercoaching.com.
All right, so here's another secret. I love this one. Start with higher priced expired listings.
We have to explain that. So when you get the expired list and it's downloaded from RedX, remember you've texted the word red to 47372, and when it's downloaded into your computer, what a lot of agents will do is they'll start with the cheap listings first. They will ignore the upper end listings because frankly they're intimidated by them.
They think the cheap stuff's easier.
Right, it's the same work saying the same exact thing, and the sellers have the same exact questions. So do yourself a favor and start at the most expensive end of the market first. Order it so that you're calling the most expensive expireds first, and you'll be shocked how infrequently they have received any other solicitation from any competing agents.
It's absolutely true. And by the way, in Premier Coaching, there is not one script for luxury and another script for like investment property. They all want the same results. They want their house sold. They want it sold now for the most amount of money in the least amount of time with less hassle to them.
Well, the script that we teach you guys, that Julie and I wrote, the essence of it is to get their motivation for wanting to sell in their time frame, and then to set an appointment. You're not supposed to be going into conversations with them about what they did or didn't like about the previous listing agent, why they didn't think the house didn't sell. Well, all these stupid things.
Irrelevant things.
They're irrelevant things that have nothing. Look, your job is to call them. Your job is to set an appointment. Your job is to pre-qualify them. Your next job is to send them a pre-listing pack, show up to the listing appointment, follow our listing process, and get the house listed and sold. That's it. Don't make it more complicated than that, folks.
That's right. So point number 5, or secret number 5, relisted expireds actually sell very quickly. And when you watch your daily hot sheet, you'll start to see that. The fact is, many expireds sell almost immediately when they're relisted, often due to better pricing, updated marketing, better pictures, better description. And sometimes it's because they have less competition, stuff sold, and now they're the only one on the market. An action step for you, create a Google sheet. Most of my private coaching clients do this, of the top expired listings that you're currently pursuing. Replace them as you list them, or if they get relisted with somebody else, or they tell you they're not selling anymore.
All right, so let me jump in.
Don't give up until you've made contact.
So let me jump in there. Somebody will ask, and some of you are thinking, I'm going to put them in a CRM and do a long-term drip, blah, 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 blah. No, here's your rule for lead follow-up, and this is true for all leads, especially sellers. If the seller has to sell, which you'll know because you pre-qualified them, you'll know what their motivation is, here's your lead follow-up rule. You must continue to follow up with them until one of two things happen. They list with you or somebody else, or they file a restraining order against you. One of those two things has to happen. Now, I do need to interject a funny story that actually did happen.
All right.
This was a long time ago, and I did actually have a coaching client that took the restraining order part literally.
Oh, no.
Okay, and didn't, you remember this.
Yeah.
It was like in 2008 or something, and they missed like 3 or 4 coaching calls in a row. Finally, I get hold of them, and it found out that indeed they did run into some legal problem, and their broker tried to fire them because they were accused of stalking some seller. It's like, that never happens, but the very fact that this person experienced that, I mean, the joke part is, I should have maybe told them that I was joking about the restraining order, but the real joke part is, most agents think that they're being too aggressive with lead follow-up, and the truth is you can't be too aggressive with lead follow-up. You literally, dear listener, it would be impossible for you to be too aggressive with lead follow-up. So after you've made the contact with the seller, after you pre-qualified them, and you determine what their motivation is, and for some reason you didn't set the listing appointment when you made that initial contact, but you do know what their motivation is, you do know that they absolutely have to sell and what their time frame is, your job is to follow up with them until one of two things happens, and remember the restraining order is a joke. They list with you or somebody else, or they file a restraining order against you.
That's right. People that have a need to be solved like being followed up with like that. As you were talking, I was thinking about, we just replaced the roof on our ranch in Texas, right?
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and you know who I used? Because we didn't actually have a roofer in that particular area, that would do that kind of thing. So I did talk to several, and you know who we ended up using? And I can't tell you, I don't think they're necessarily the least expensive, but I can tell you, I'm friends with him now, Luke, at Arc Roofing, right? Because he followed up. He texted me, he followed up. He had his assistant track me down. He did a better job at estimates. He followed up better every single time.
Well, he dealt with the insurance company too.
He even dealt with the insurance company for us, and that's why he got our business.
But this was like the world's most expensive roof.
A metal roof, of course.
Yeah. What did it cost? Like 50, 60 grand, something like that?
50, yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Better last. All
Did
right.
you get pictures, by the way?
I did. They're pretty cool.
You haven't shown them to me.
Yeah, remind me after the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
But the point is the same, that we could have used anybody. I probably could have found somebody cheaper, but Luke got our business because he was the guy that followed up.
Well, we did have, I think, if I remember correctly, we did have, wasn't there two other roofers? Mm-hmm. But he's the one that followed up with you, but he's also the one that followed up with the insurance company.
That's right.
It was a hail damage job. That's the reason that we had to replace it. Exactly. Well, anyway, they don't care about it.
But the point is, I needed somebody, and I used him because he followed up. All right. Don't ignore, this is point number 6, don't ignore older expireds. This is a definite honey hole. Fewer agents contact expired listings that are 6 months to 2 years old. We have coaching clients that will call back to 3 or 4 years old expireds, yet these properties often achieve the original price the seller wanted. You actually have less of a price conversation going on. So your action step is to reach out to those older expireds and withdrawn listings. Be the agent who reconnects them with the market. You are probably going to be the only agent calling at that point. So yes, older expireds are a definite honey hole. All right, number 7, you can curate your ideal inventory this way. This is one of my favorite things about expireds. Pursuing expired listings allows you to choose the neighborhoods and the price ranges that you want to specialize in. It's one of the ways that we broke into New Albany Country Club. We did this. Your action step is to build your inventory strategically by focusing on areas or price points that align with your goals. That's what your Google Sheet of Top 20 Expireds is for. So raise your average sale price if that's one of your goals by using this strategy. There aren't a lot of ways to raise your average sale price. You can move into a more expensive area and prospect your neighborhood. You can kind of social network your way in, but that takes a long time. Contacting expireds in the neighborhoods you want to list is so much faster.
But again, I think truthfully, one of the most critical things that hopefully they're taking away from this is that your biggest competitor when you're going on a listing appointment is going to be an agent that they know socially.
Yep.
That's going to be your biggest competitor. And once that agent washes out because they didn't successfully get the house sold, that seller probably doesn't have another agent in mind, like doesn't have like a plan B. And when you call them and you pre-qualify them and you follow our scripts in our system, you are their plan B. It's your game to lose at that point. There are a lot of little tricks. You want to make sure you call in the just different times you're going to call. You don't want to call like obviously too early in the morning. The first day and the last day, which Julie's about to talk about in our next point number 8. This is really important. So Julie, what's point number 8? Watch for Expired Palooza at the end of every month. What the heck is Expired Palooza?
Expired Palooza is what we have lovingly nicknamed the best time, the most fun time to be going after expireds. That's when the month turns over. Why? Because for some reason, for ages and ages, even today, agents have their listing contracts expire on the last of the month or the first of the month. So that's why we have a higher percentage that you can see on your lists and on your reports from Redex. You have a lot more to go after. That's not to say you shouldn't do it every day, but Expired Palooza is especially good when the month turns over. Now, the first of the last months are those prime times for expireds. Action step, plan to dedicate extra time to prospecting around those dates to maximize your opportunities. And keep in mind too, Monday holidays are also ideal to find sellers at home, both on the phone and by door knocking. Those are things like President's Day, Memorial Day, etc.
Well, even Halloween.
Yes.
The Thanksgiving, over the Christmas
People are
holidays.
home.
And when people are home, during the holidays especially, when people are home, they're generally in a good mood. They haven't had to work for a while. I mean, because they've been off.
You can combine it with an expired pop by. Our coaches are teaching the wrapping paper project. That's a great excuse to go to the door with expireds. So watch for Expired Palooza, and again, you're going to hear about that in Premier Coaching. So here's your homework. Take the 30-day challenge. Don't think about it as, oh my gosh, I got to learn this big thing and I'm going to deploy it over the next 12 months. Just start with a 30-day challenge. Set a goal to contact at least 2 expired listings every workday for 30 days. You can do it at the door, you can do it by phone, but track your progress and watch how many listings you secure. Then lather, rinse, and repeat for consistent results and success. Remember, expired listings are a gold mine when you do it strategically. So use the secrets you learned on today's podcast to make them a steady source of income and dominate your market. Remember, we demonstrated if you're only kind of okay at it and you only take and sell 1 per month, most of you listening can do 1 per week, but keeping it at a very low bar where you're only okay at it doing once, and then you learn from that and you really start to love it and it takes off from there.
I was just thinking about our property, the ranch we have in Texas. And I was just thinking, it's north of Austin and Georgetown. And I was just thinking about the average sale price in Austin on a whole. And
yeah,
Austin,
I can tell you exactly what it is.
What is it?
It is, now it's $599. So
in all of Austin?
Yep, 600.
I'm surprised it's that low, to be honest.
It was 700 until they got a lot more inventory.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
So a lot more inventory.
Which means a lot more expired.
That's where my mind went. So if you're
That's still a nice commission check.
100%.
Yeah.
So you guys get it. You're all worried about, where are my leads going to come from? I'm not going to be able to list because haven't built my brand yet. I don't have my marketing place. I don't have all these other things. Not a single thing that we asked you to do today. RedX costs you something for them to do the work for you.
It's super cheap.
It's super cheap. But not a single thing isn't something that all of you could do and implement and have in place within 24 hours, 48 hours. Literally, you can be on the phone within 48 hours, if not 24 hours, calling expired listings, setting pre-qualified listing appointments, taking listings, and setting yourself up to be a listing agent. And yet, how many of you listening right now want to make it more complicated than that? Why? I don't have an answer for you. You have an answer for yourself? Maybe you just need to say it out loud. I don't want to call expired listings because, fill in the blank, because you don't know how to, okay? Because you're not, you don't have the skill set and the mindset to be essentially in a place where you can make those contacts. Okay, I appreciate that. I'm not going to call expireds because I don't have the phone numbers, I can't get it. Okay, I get that. We have just solved all those problems for you. Julie and I get this question, if you guys were to get back into real estate, what would you do? Number 1, expired listings. And number 2, we'd focus primarily on centers of influence and past clients.
Both of those things.
Both of those in tandem, right. And if the market allowed for it, FSBOs and whatnot, and new construction, obviously. But there are always expireds, and there's always ways to get business from centers of influence and past clients. Expireds is proactive lead generation. You're going to be talking directly to sellers that want to sell. And obviously the centers of influence and past clients, it's an easier source of business, but it's not consistent. You're not going to be able to pick up the phone every day and contact a center of influence and past client and take a listing. But you can pick up the phone every day and you can call expireds and set a pre-qualified listing appointment every day. You guys get it? So it's up to you. My strong encouragement or my strong suggestion to all of you is to join Premier Coaching. So just go to premiercoaching.com. The link is down below. So just go to premiercoaching.com and become a Premier Coaching client. And you can join right now for free for 30 days. And yes, that does include a daily semi-private coaching call. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.